This is likened to a person who's angry at a friend, but he also loves his friend. And when the angry person is seeing the friend standing bewildered and frightened, go to our website, which is HebrewLearningCircles.org. Go to Jewish Resources, scroll down to Parsha Videos, and you'll find the source sheet right there. Parsha VaEra, Exodus chapter 6, verse 2. And the verse goes, Vaydaber Elohim el Moshe, Vayomer elav ani Adonai. Very simple verse. God spoke to Moses and said to him, I am Havaya, Yud Hey Vav Hey. The phrase God spoke to Moses is very common in the Torah. For obvious reasons, the Torah really is fundamentally the record of Moshe Rabbeinu's life and many conversations and instructions that he received from God and conversations with God. And we're touching on another one right here. So typically it says Vayomer, which means spoke, Havaya el Moshe. But here the Torah uses two synonyms for the word spoke, Vaydaber and Vayomer. And it starts with the one that's less used, Vaydaber. And the Ishmael asks, why is that? And in the same sentence, God is mentioned by two synonyms, Elohim and Havaya, or two different names of God. And why is that? Is there a meaningful connection between these two sets of synonyms and perhaps a hidden teaching? And obviously, that's a rhetorical question. So.
Second parsha of the second book. As you recall from last week, at the end of Parsha Shemais, Moshe Rabbeinu complains. He has what we call a taina. He challenges God. God chose Moshe to go to Egypt, and he didn't want to go. He finally went, and after all that, it seems that like as if all of Moses' reasons for not wanting to go were correct. It didn't work. The Pharaoh threw him out. and not only threw him out, he said they were making bricks out of straw. Now they're going to have to make the straw to make the bricks. So at the end of the Parsha, and this is very interesting, the Ishbitzer here is going to take the second to last verse of previous week, which flows through into the first verse of this week. So at the end of last week, we had Moshe complains, not only didn't I win, but I lose. You sent me and I didn't, not only didn't it do what you said I was going to do, it was worse. You made it worse. The word says, hey, Ra. You made it evil for the people. Not only you made it regular like it was, you made it worse. Okay. Now, in a moment, we'll see the first verse is God's response to Moshe's challenge and complaint. And, of course, the Ishbitzer is going to get into the linguistics of the response in a very detailed and amazing way.
But the verses are Exodus chapter 5, verse 23, and then he goes to the first verse of our Parsha VaEra. Umeaz bati el paro ledaber bishmecha era la'am hazeh ve'atzel lo hitzalta et amecha. And in English, ever since I came to Pharaoh to speak in your name, this is Moses, like you said before, complaining to God, he has dealt worse with this, he meaning the Pharaoh, with this people. And still, you, God, have not delivered your people. That's what's called holy chutzpah, right?
Right. Pretty blunt. Pretty blunt.
Yeah.
Tell it like it is.
Yeah, exactly. So So the beginning of this Pasha, it says, as many paragraphs in the Torah begin, in this style, Vaydaber Elohim el Moshe, which means God spoke to Moses. Vayomer elav, and he said to him, Ani Havaya, I am Havaya, meaning the tetragrammaton, ineffable name of God. So the Ishbitzer goes as follows. Achar shediber Moshe Rabbeinu al dvarav neged Hashem yitbarach, after Moses, our teacher, may his memory be a blessing, spoke his complaints to God. In other words, this verse comes after that, just like Rebelli had explained to us. So this is why our verse is God's rebuke of him. B'zelashon, and this is the meaning of using the word Vaydaber, which is translated as spoke, Shehu lashon kasha, which means harsh speak. Gam Hashem Elokim moreh al zeh, and also the reference to God as Elokim or Elohim points to that, because usually Elokim is considered the Gevura, the more harsh side of divinity. Ach techef vayomar elav zeu ke'adam. Ach techef vayomar elav. So immediately it's preceded by the word vayomar, which is the synonym to vaydaber. Zeu ke'adam, he now explains it. Zeu ke'adam sheko'es al chavero ve'ohavo. This is likened to a person who's angry at a friend, but he also loves his friend. And when the angry person is seeing the friend standing bewildered and frightened, then he hints to the other person that all this anger is just external.
There's a lot of background, a little bit, to understand this, but briefly, in Lashon Kodesh, in the holy language, synonyms are not necessarily synonyms. Each carries weight particular to the word. The words tell us a lot, because every word in Hebrew has a very, very deep, mystical, infinite meaning. The first half of God's response uses the word vayidaber, which we know, as Rashi explains, in daber, that root, is a language of harshness, speaking harshly to somebody. Here, Rashi says, on the verse, he says, he spoke with him with diber because Moshe had spoken disrespectfully. It was a response to the disrespect. Hey, so now that, so far the Ishbitzer said the first half makes sense. He's angry with Moshe, and he lets him know. By the way he's expressing himself, he lets him know he's angry. He's angry. But suddenly, like in the split second, he switches right away. Before he says what he actually wants to say as a response, he switches and he says, Vayomer, and the four-letter name. Now, Vayomer, as we know, is a language of softness and gentleness. And Hashem, the four-letter name, is also, it means many things, but one of the things it means is it's referring to God's ultimate kindness. That's one way to look at it. So that's the Ishbitzer's problem. You started off with yelling at the guy, giving him musar, and then all of a sudden, before you even told him why you're yelling at him, you switched to the kind, you put on a kind face.
Right. And he's illustrating with this very simple, sweet kind of human interaction. He's trying to explain what's going on, but let us continue and see where he goes the next step. וכן הוא העניין של ויאמר אליו אדוני. And this is why he switches to Vayomer, spoke Elav Adonai, God spoke to him, Ani Adonai, I'm sorry, saying, I am Yud Kei Vav Kei, the ineffable name of God. Ki Amira, Lashon Raka. He explains the root, and the word Amira, Lemor, is a soft language, a kind language, meaning Shelachashlo, Sheino B'kas Chas V'Chalila. So, meaning that God is whispering to Moses, but God forbid he's not angry. I just got a chuckle, he makes it very, he animates it, makes it very, kind of brings it into human imagery. And I think what he's asking here, Rebelli, is why does he have to say that at the end, Ani Adonai? It's kind of, I mean, if you look at the sentence in context, it's out of context. It doesn't directly answer the question. All of a sudden he says, this is my name. And there's more in last parsha, this parsha, there's more about the different names that Avraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they did not know God in that name, and you'll know God in this name. But he doesn't go there. He's not analyzing the names here. He's saying, this is why God says, I am Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, the ineffable name. Yishem Havaya Baruch, because this name of the blessed God, Umaleh Rachamim, is full of compassion. And this reminds me of the 13 attributes of compassion. This is the name that carries compassion. So that I have rebuked you was only external, and don't be frightened.
This idea is a very important concept, and we find it in teaching. One of the signs of a good teacher, a good mentor, a good teacher can show anger without being angry. We all know the teacher who gets frustrated and becomes angry and starts to yell and scream and rant and rave. And the kids pick up on that right away. We also know the kind of teacher that thinks, let the kid do whatever he wants and let them get, what do I care? I'm getting paid, I'm sitting here. It's the correct approach. Sometimes a mechanech, sometimes a teacher must show as if he were angry. He must show the disapproval. Right. But the student knows that the teacher is not really angry. Right. Because anger is as we know, is a terrible sin according to the Torah, and it is actually likened to idol worship. I think the Ishbitzer is saying, sometimes it seems as if God is, so to speak, angry because of things that are happening in the world, in my life. Why is God angry at me?
It's such a short sentence, and it's so packed. You have God the rebuker, and you have God the merciful. You have one way of talking, another way of talking, all in one short sentence. Both can be held together. Usually we think that either you're one or the other. Either you're the good guy or you're a bad guy, And but here it shows, I think, what the Ishbitzer is bringing is that no, it's not only that they have to be together. I once had a argument with a friend who is actually a serious practitioner of Buddhism. And we had a very respectful conversation. Obviously, Buddhists believe that there is no God, but their conceptual framework does not hold a deity, right? It holds nothing and emptiness. And we were talking, how does a deity make sense? How does a no deity make sense? How can one reconcile with the other? Can we understand each other? And the person reminded me this. I've heard about this. It's a famous quotation from actually a Buddhist teacher that I admire. That's the Dalai Lama, a world famous Tibetan Buddhist teacher. Somebody once asked him if he believes in God, and his answer was, if God is love, so yes, I believe in God. That was the answer. So I think it's kind of a cute, superficial response, but what I learned from that is that, and this is what I said to my friend. I said, well, I can agree to that. You know, if God is love, God is love. You know, a lot of people say, well, my God is love. You talk to people who are, say, atheists, not Buddhists, but just Western atheists. You know, they're anti organized religion, right, as it's called. And they said, well, my God is love. I'm a good person. That's enough. You know, that's my religion. And my answer to that is, why are you limiting yourself to a God who's only love? I mean, God is at least, according to Jewish tradition, 10 different things. You know, it's Keter, Chochmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, you could say. So people pick the Chesedic Sephira, meaning the loving kindness Sephira, and that's comfortable, and they say that's God. But really, is God only that? I mean, God has all these different, you know, if you look at all the Sephirot, you see, why is God only love and not also limits, compassion, eternity, and beauty? So the fact that God can be two things at once, actually God is more than two things at once, at least 10. So for the simple mind, we think, how can one be two things at the same time? But actually, God is not limited to being two things at the same kind. But this is just this one pasuk. God is many things at the same time. By all means, well, why only two? Why only by Daber, by Yomer? You know, it's like God can come at you from at least, you know, there should have been 10 synonyms to God spoke, right? According to the Zohar, Kabbalah, you know. Well, thank you, everybody, for studying with us today, Pashat VaEra, and may we all be blessed to, I guess, embrace all of the different and all the depth of the meaning of love. So, you know, so we can say that with real, you know, with real depth and spiritual meaning. And again, next Wednesday, God willing. Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock. Shalom for now. Click subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. We really appreciate that. Like to have that extra layer of connection with you. Like and subscribe. Come back next Wednesday, 9 o'clock in the morning.
Mayim rabim lo yuklu